The Stockholm Convention. Persistent organic pollutants, also known as POPs, are toxic chemicals that adversely affect human health and the environment around the world. Because they can be transported by wind and water, most POPs generated in one country can and do affect people and wildlife far from where they are used and released. They persist for long periods of time in the environment and can accumulate and pass from one species to the next through the food chain. To address this global concern, the United States joined forces with 90 other countries in the European community to sign a groundbreaking United Nations treaty in Stockholm, Sweden in May 2001. Under the treaty, known as the Stockholm Convention, countries agreed to reduce or eliminate the production, use, and/or release of 12 key POPs, and specified under the convention a scientific review process that has led to the addition of other POP chemicals of global concern. Many of the POPs included in the Stockholm Convention are no longer produced in this country. However, U.S. citizens and habitats can still be at risk from POPs that have persisted in the environment, from unintentionally produced POPs that are released in the United States, from POPs that are released elsewhere and then transported here by wind or water, for example, or from both. Although most developed nations have taken strong actions to control POPs, a great number of developing nations have only fairly recently begun to restrict their production, use, and release. The Stockholm Convention adds an important global dimension to our national and regional efforts to control POPs. Though the United States is not yet a party to the Stockholm Convention, the Convention has played a prominent role in the control of harmful chemicals on both a national and global level. Key elements of the Convention include the requirement that developed countries provide new and additional financial resources and measures to eliminate production and use of intentionally produced POPs, eliminate unintentionally produced POPs where feasible, and manage and dispose of POPs waste in an environmentally sound manner. So what are POPs? Many POPs were widely used during the boom in industrial production after World War II, when thousands of synthetic chemicals were introduced into commercial use. Many of these chemicals proved beneficial in pest and disease control, crop production, and industry. These same chemicals, however, have had unforeseen effects on human health and the environment. What domestic actions have been taken to control POPs? The United States has taken strong domestic action to reduce emissions of POPs. For example, none of the original POPs pesticides listed in the Stockholm Convention is registered for sale and distribution in the United States today, and in 1978, Congress prohibited the manufacture of PCBs and severely restricted the use of remaining PCB stocks. In addition, since 1987, EPA in the states have effectively reduced environmental releases of dioxins and furans to land, air, and water from U.S. sources. How do POPs affect people and wildlife? Studies have linked POPs exposures to declines, diseases, or abnormalities in a number of wildlife species, including certain kinds of fish, birds, and mammals. Wildlife also can act as sentinels for human health. Abnormalities or declines detected in wildlife populations can sound an early warning bell for people. Behavior abnormalities and birth defects in fish, birds, and mammals in and around the Great Lakes, for example, led scientists to investigate POPs exposures in human populations. In people, reproductive, developmental, and behavioral health effects have been linked to POPs. People are mainly exposed to POPs through contaminated foods. Less common exposures include drinking contaminated water and direct contact with the chemicals. In people and other mammals alike, POPs can be transferred through the placenta and breast milk to developing offspring. A number of populations are at particular risk of POPs exposure, including people whose diets include large amount of fish, shellfish, or wild foods that are high in fat and locally obtained. For example, indigenous peoples may be at particularly risk because they observe cultural and spiritual traditions related to their diet. To them, fishing and hunting are not sport or recreation, but are part of a traditional subsistence way of life in which no useful part of the catch is wasted. Well, there you have it. I hope you learned a bunch about POP emissions, its dangerous effects, and what people are doing to stop it.
Created using Powtoon.